Welcome to this small tutorial. I'd like to show you in this video how you can use our new brush set for creating the texture of the beautiful tile. Let's draw such tiles in a form of honeycombs. Please choose a brush that helped to draw this pattern. The name of this brush is Honeycombs. Then I select a dark gray color and create a selection area and draw this pattern inside it. Then let's create a new layer. Move it under the previous layer and fill it with light blue color. Now I duplicate the layer with tiles. Choose the layer which is placed above and use the tool from the Adjustments menu, Hue, Saturation, Brightness, and move the slider to white color. Then I reduce slightly opacity of this layer and move this layer a little to the right and down and change the size a bit. Look, the tiles got volume. Now let's give our tile some additional effects. Let's choose the layer where we have a blue fill. Then choose Alpha Lock for this layer, and I choose a blue shade of the blue color that we used previously. Then I choose the flat Copic brush from the basic brush set. Let's show the shadow to the right side of this example of the tile. I apply strokes vertically and with angles to give the illustration dynamic. You can take an even darker tone and add to it to give a more dynamic effect to the illustration. Now I create a new layer and choose the Add mode. I reduce the opacity a bit of the layer and take a light blue color. And I apply to this layer clipping mask as well. And I make strokes imitating glares. Please note I don't bush on the stylus. I make my strokes with slight pressure. Let's take flat marker brush and draw additional glares with this brush on the tiles part. It will make the illustration of the tile more interesting. We see that the tiles are multicolored on the picture. Let's try to imitate the same effect on our illustration. Go to the layer where we have the outline drawing of the tile. We did it at the beginning of the lesson. Then we should use the selection tool, Automatic, and click on the space inside of each cell of the tile that we would like to make in a different color. Then I'm choosing the darker shade of the bluer color. Then let's create a new layer and place it under the layer with white contour and fill it with this bluer color. As you can see, some of the tiles turn blue. Now, if we want to work with them again, we should choose Alpha Lock. Take a brush, for example, flat Copic, and take a darker shade of the color. We make strokes with the brush to give the picture some dynamics, to show how light and shadow play with each other. If there is some kind of texture or pattern on a tile, then we can add effect by using the brush with a texture. Let's see the examples in the video. In the end of the work, you can merge all the layers into one. Let's create a new type of tile with this texture. I choose this brush for this tile. I create first the selection area and fill this area by using this brush. Then I turn the rectangle to 90 degrees. Then let's create a new layer and fill it with light bluer color. I duplicate the layer with the contour of the tile and change the color of the lines to white in the menu Adjustments, Hue, Saturation, Brightness. And then I shift this layer a little to get the volume effect for the tile. Now let's make the color a little darker on the lower layer to make the borders more visible. Go to the layer with blue rectangle and select Alpha Lock on it. Then I choose the brush Heavy Metal Industrial Set. I choose the lighter tone of the blue, and using this brush added strokes on the rectangle. We can add the darker tone of the blue in the same way. Then I create a new layer and set it to the Add mode and add the strokes again. I'm doing this with a brush, flat marker from Basic Set. Then on the new layer, I add strokes with the same brush, but with a darker blue tone. Then I choose the brush flat marker and add the volume to each piece of the tile. I add a light blue tone to show the light and a dark bluer tone to show the shadow on the tile. Then I'm going to emphasize the details of the tiles with a glare brush. You can switch the drawing guide on to help you draw vertical and horizontal strokes. So we drew 2 sketches of tiles. Now, using this sketch as an example, I will show you how you can draw the parquet flooring. Here I already had a floor, but I hid it with white color. Please note that the drawing assist has already been set up, and I will use them for drawing the floor according to perspective. First, I create a new layer. Select the rectangular section area and choose the dark brown color. Let's choose the pattern for the parquet. I choose classic herringbone style 2 brush and fill the area with this brush. I duplicate the layer to make it darker, and then merge these 2 layers into one. Now I need to place the rectangle in perspective along with the guidelines, and I'm using for this menu Transform Tool, Distort. Please note I'm constantly checking that the lines of the parquet lie in perspective according to the perspective lines. Now let's color the floor. Fill the floor with light brown color. Then for this layer, I turn Alpha Lock on. Choose a dark brown shade. Take the flat Copic brush and add some shadows. When I draw, I go from lighter shades to darker ones. Look, a fill pattern is displayed on my bed. To remove it, I turn on the clipping mask on this layer with a pattern of the parquet. Now let's add more details to the floor to make it more interesting and real. Create a new layer and select pieces of the parquet. Please see how I do this on the video. Then I take a slightly darker shade and apply strokes in these selected areas. We can take the brush named Hair Big Brush and use it in some places to simulate a natural surface of the wood. Let's repeat the process. As you can see, the floor becomes more interesting with details and has a texture of wood now. Please note that I put strokes in the same direction as perspective lines and along with the object that is drawn. Also, it is not necessary to draw this texture for all the parts of the parquet. I recommend adding details in the foreground only. After adding details, I apply a clipping mask for this layer and merge the layers into one. Create a new layer, set it to Add mode, and use a flat Copic brush to add glares and light. Go to the layer with our floor pattern, duplicate it, go to Hue, Saturation, Brightness, and increase the brightness to the maximum and shift it a little. As you can see, the floor now has volume. Now let's reduce the opacity, and here, in the shadow area, I erase some strokes. I'm going to add a little more detail on the floor by using the same technique. I add some more shadows here, and so we have got such a sketch. Thank you for watching the video, and have a good day!